Hi, I'm Patrick.
And I'm Liv.
And this is the Mach-E vlog. Today we're going to talk about an update on all the differences and the new stuff that's happening with EV charging standards and what it means for us as EV owners and you as well.
So let's go.
Okay, if you know us, we have to make lots of trips up to Orange County from San Diego. Today, I-5 is shut down or an accident or something like that, so we're taking the long way around. So we thought, well, we have time to record a video, so let's do that.
And different scenery for you guys. So
Different
it's not
scenery.
super picturesque anyways.
It's
Hills.
interesting.
Yeah.
So, but we did also want to update. There's been a lot of news. Things have sort of settled after Ford made their announcement that they're going to adopt the Tesla adapter, the Tesla plug, the NACS, North American Charging Standard, or as we'll just call it in this video, NACS, back on May 25th in a Twitter space with Elon Musk. So we'll start with what they announced and then give you an update to what's happened since then and then what that means. So what they announced was starting sometime next year, we'll be able to charge any current Ford EV, and there's a question about what do they mean by any, at Tesla superchargers using a CCS to NACS adapter. And starting in 2025, Ford EVs will come with the NACS adapter already built in. So that's what they announced. Actually, very little detail. And then since then, a lot of other things have happened.
Yeah, our wildest dreams, our greatest hopes have happened. GM jumped on the bandwagon. Volvo jumped on the bandwagon, which if you know me or us, I put a reservation in for the EX30, so I'm thrilled. Rivian, Polestar, who else? A whole bunch of people. Pretty much everyone is on board or getting on board.
Well, not everyone. There's some major ones that have not.
There's some major, but maybe now when you're watching this, who knows? VW, Toyota.
VW, Toyota, Stellantis, Hyundai Motor Group supposedly is in negotiations. One interesting one is Lucid. They basically said they will not switch until Tesla can figure out how to support 900 volt, 1000 volt cars. Because right now, the way that the Lucid would charge at a Tesla supercharger, it would be limited to about 50 kilowatts. And we know that because there's 12 superchargers that actually do support charging CCS cars. And this is due to the way that they step up the power to get 1000 volts or 900 volts out of their system. So anyways, Lucid is basically like, we're not switching until Tesla does something different. And they may, you know, we'll get into that as well. By the way, Liv and I collaborated on a couple of articles on this same subject. So if you need to reference like an easier point and not us rambling, there's an article that we'll link to below on A Girl's Guide to Cars, ta-da, and EV Explored. So you'll be able to just like read over a lot of this same stuff. So very, very, very excited that we both have articles out on this. But
and it was a good impetus for us both to really think about what all this means, because the news is changing a lot. And so if Lucid needs to take their time to figure this out, that's okay for us because the pressure's on them. So they are very, very heavily incentivized to figure this out. Lucid and Tesla and everyone now is incentivized to make this happen, which is so great for us, all of us, consumers, EV drivers, you, us, and I think that's what's been the really exciting thing to delve into.
Yeah, and let's start with clarifying some of the stuff or the updates of what we now know for Ford, since you guys are probably more interested in the Mach-E than other EVs, although we want all EV owners to watch this. But for Mach-E owners, if you currently have a Mach-E, there will be an adapter. It's still no update as far as to when it will be out. They just say by spring of next year, I think they said late spring, which hopefully it's before then. There were, Jim Farley went on CNBC, did an interview where he said, we're going to just send everybody an adapter. And then later that same day, I got a notification in FordPass that said there will be an adapter. Cost is yet to be determined. So a lot of people took what Jim Farley said to mean that it will be free. But I know how those interviews go, and I don't know if he meant that it was actually going to be free. And they can still change their mind. Even he did say it was free. They can change their mind. So I would expect it to cost a couple $100, which is, not a horrible cost. Hopefully they don't jack up the price and try to make it like a profit thing. Loud motorcycle.
Yeah, very loud motorcycle. I mean, it would suck for sure, but if it's a one-time thing that gives us flexibility.
Whoa.
So, by the way, some of the footage that we're using is us testing the Blackview. What number is this?
DR970X. They sent us this to evaluate. So we're going to try to include some of the footage here. If it doesn't work, we also have our GoPro footage as well, but we may swap back and forth between the two, or we may just use all of that. I literally just installed it this morning and got it completely set up. I don't even have the rear one. It's a 2-channel, but I'm only using the front channel. They also sent us a battery. It's the B130X or D130X, something 130X. B130X, which is really cool. You can use this with other dash cams, but it's designed to be paired with the Blackview, and it basically allows you to do parking mode without tapping into the power system of the Mach-E, and gives you up to 30 hours of like parking mode running. So really cool. Just cut us off. That's okay.
Yeah, as it gets traffic here, that's why I thought of it. Is here are all these times when you just really want a dash cam just in case someone does something stupid.
It's running in 4K mode. I don't have the highest bit rate, which means the quality may not be as high as you can actually get it. But I needed to manage the file sizes for this, recording minutes and minutes and minutes of footage. So anyways, hopefully it looks good. If you're interested, we'll probably do a full review on it. And if you're interested in buying it, we'll put the link down below, an affiliate code. But let's get back into charging.
Yeah, and our route just changed to avoid traffic.
Another note with the Ford information that we have, it was also mentioned that there's a possibility that they could, in 2025, have a NACS port on one side and a CCS port on the other, or some configuration like that. Nothing has been officially said, so we don't know. I think they may just go strictly with the NACS port, although I could see like on the F-150, good grief, people. That was really ridiculous.
That was really good.
And he had room anyways.
Yeah. Maybe doesn't like EVs.
Yeah. So anyways, I think they'll probably stick to just NACS in 2025, but maybe on the Lightning or something like that, because they're like fleet vehicles, or the E-Transit, they may give the option of both or something like that. Who knows? But it's not yet to be determined. There were some questions about whether there will be plug-in charge using a Tesla supercharger. The only statement has been from, like Elon and some Ford PR people that said, we want to make this as seamless as possible. And seamless as possible to me means they want to make plug-in charge work from day one. They should be able to, because the NACS and Tesla superchargers do support the plug-in charge standard, so it should be possible. So that's good news. Let's see, what else?
I mean, and all of this could change. So as excited or as nervous as we might get about some aspects of this, a lot of it could change. Even the government funding, we don't really know, because this just completely changed the ecosystem in the matter of a month and a half so far.
Yeah, we're still very early into this. It's only been about a month and a half. So That's a lot of this is just brand new info, and a lot of it is still speculation. So we're, you know, a couple of people asked me, I was like, would you like upgrade to a new Mach-E because it has the NSCES, the NACS port? And I'm like, no, I'm fine with using an adapter. So that's the good news, is like you'll be able to use an adapter. It's not like all of a sudden your Mach-E was made obsolete or anything like that.
It could be really great because for a period of time we might be able to use CCS and NACS. I'm trying to decide which way I like to say that, but I think I'll say NACS. But maybe we will want to upgrade or change to a NACS-enabled Mach-E or NACS only. It's so much is going to change, and so much is going to depend on how this shakes out.
There was also some questions about which superchargers we will be able to use, and the only thing that we really have is that it looks like what they're saying is like it's going to be the version 3 and above superchargers. I don't know if they're going to do any further restrictions, saying like some of the superchargers around here are very, very, very busy. So will they say like those are Tesla only? We don't know whether that's true or not, but version 3 superchargers and above. And if you want to find version 3 superchargers in your area to see which ones are version 3, all you have to do is go to PlugShare, set your filters for like 200 kilowatts and above, and that'll show you where the version 3 superchargers are. And that's because the version 2s are 150 kilowatts and below. Version 3s are 250 kilowatts. So by filtering the superchargers that way, you'll be able to see. So for example, I believe we've mentioned like Green River, Utah, and it'd be nice to have a supercharger option there that we could use. Well, as of now, the Green River supercharger is only version 2, which means we don't have a supercharger option even next year when this all takes place. On the bright side, in a lot of instances where they do have version 2 superchargers, they don't just rip them out. What they do is they'll expand them and they'll add version 3 stalls. So then Green River may become an option for us. And the version 4s, nobody has seen actually deployed yet, but it's imminent that they are going to start deploying them, which also hopefully alleviates some of the issues with the fact that it's going to be very hard for a car like the Mach-E to reach the supercharger port correctly because of where our port's on the right in front of the door on the driver's side, and Tesla's, it's on the driver's side in the rear. So if we back in, cable's not long enough. If we go in forward, we're on the wrong side, the cable won't reach unless they put in longer cables or we take up the wrong spot. So those type of issues.
There's going to be all sorts of charging etiquette, because if you have version 2 charging stations that have a couple V3s, then are people going to be nice and leave those for CCS vehicles that might need them? In the same way that now Electrify America and EVgo stations, there's an etiquette on where you charge your vehicles, and hopefully this etiquette continues, obviously, being that if your vehicle cannot charge faster than 150 kilowatts, then don't charge at the 350, right? So it's going to be really interesting to see all this etiquette roll out. And we're also thinking maybe of doing like a myths or a myths video kind of, or misbeliefs, whatever, because I've heard people say that Tesla superchargers are the fastest chargers, which, like Patrick said, is not the case until V4 rolls out, and we'll see. Maybe they should be really fast.
Their V4s are going to be fast.
Yeah.
Right now, the fastest chargers are like EVgo and Electrify America at 350 kilowatts. And speaking of Electrify America and EVgo, we should talk about that.
Yeah. And I'm distracted by what is on this truck.
Oh, I just noticed it. Just
Can you
saying.
tell what that is?
I got to go next to it.
It's like a little, or behind, no.
No, you guys won't be able to see what's on the side of it, but we'll say, what is that?
Yeah, what it is. Just saying, Mammoth Environmental.
Used oil and stuff like that.
That's really cute.
So do you want to EVgo and Electrify America?
So it's not just the automakers that have made agreements now. This huge movement has created collaborations now with the charging companies. So Electrify America, EVgo, who else? Electrify America and EVgo have already announced that they will be employing
Flow. There's some others that have announced
NACS connectors.
And not a collaboration. They're just able to now say we're going to support NACS.
Yeah. So
and one very important one that's not a charging company but helps all of this is SAE, which is the like automotive engineering standards body. They are going to help codify basically the all the technical details of the NACS NACS port, so then it becomes an official standard that any manufacturer can match and make sure that their product is in compliance.
Which also then, from my understanding, might ensure that this stays open source, right?
Not open source, but an open standard.
So that's standard. Great. So if anyone was scared of that being removed, the Society of Automotive Engineers being involved in this is a way to help ensure this, right?
Right. And with Electrify America and EVgo, they said they're going to expand NACS support with Electrify America. As you know, like their old stations had 2 handles, 2 CCS or 1 CCS, 1 CHAdeMO. Their new ones only have like 1 plug. So I could see, I don't know what they're going to do. No, they haven't really said, but I could see them going back to having 2 handles or maybe splitting up a station so it has some NACS, some CCS. But they could go back to having 2 handles, 1 CCS, 1 NACS, and that would give you some flexibility. Or maybe they'll do their own version of the Magic Dock, but in reverse.
It totally makes me think, by the way, so if we have the Electrify America stations and they had 1 parking spot on one side, 1 on the other, and the 2 handles, they could make that into 1 unit and then make it 1 accessible parking spot that a wheelchair or someone with mobility needs could get out on either side, and then have extra space. So you could like split the parking in between, so you have the 1 parking and then half a parking extra on either side, and then add charge or something. I don't know, I'm dreaming here, but that would be great.
Right. And the other thing that I do want to emphasize, there's been a lot of people that keep on talking about like the switch to NACS is going to fix charging. This is what we've been waiting for. It is not. It is not going to fix things. First of all, of course, we just need more capacity. This is a great boon for that because now instead of like 10,000 CCS ports, we'll have access to 10,000 CCS ports as well as 12,000 supercharger stalls throughout the US. So yes, it increases that. But let's talk about reliability for a second. So first of all, Tesla's superchargers are very reliable. They do a great job of maintaining their chargers. But it is yet to be seen, are there going to be issues with us charging at Tesla superchargers? And not necessarily the Mach-E, but like when you start introducing, instead of 4 Tesla models charging at a supercharger, what happens when you have 25, 30 different models of cars that need to be supported by a supercharger and multiple payment systems as well? So like it's going to add some complexity, and people think it's just going to be like, well, Tesla will figure it out. Well, over in Europe, I was reading about some issues that they've had there. There was one guy that had a Polestar 2. It was like his entire trip, because he rented the Polestar 2, was unable to ever charge at a Tesla supercharger because the back-end system wouldn't authorize him to charge there. I'm not sure of the details, but that's how it usually goes. It's like, you don't know why it doesn't work, it just doesn't work. So we may run into those issues with Tesla superchargers as well here in the US. And then, of course, if EVgo or Electrify America, that's the one that everybody talks about with reliability issues, if they simply put a NACS connector on a broken charger, it doesn't magically fix it. They still have issues with their payment back end, with their temperature sensors. If they still use the same temperature sensors, they're still going to have the same issue. They had issues with their new chargers, which they've since fixed, not working in cold weather had nothing to do with the cable. So there's going to be more issue, or this is not going to fix those issues. And people are like, well, now we get to have a lot lighter cables because the NACS plug is lighter and less heavy than the NACS plug. Well, there again, wrong. Part of the reason that the Tesla supercharger cables are so thin and lightweight is because the cables are very short, and they do such a great job of maintenance. They can sort of like maintain those short, flexible cables because they'll replace them quickly. With Electrify America, their cables are usually very long. They have like a cable management system. So the longer the cable, the thicker it has to be. And they also don't maintain their stuff as well. So they have to make sure it's very sturdy. They're still going to be like bulky and heavy. And having, you know, the connector, which is mostly plastic, is not going to make a difference in the overall weight when you have a big, giant, thick cable. So it's not going to fix everything.
It's really tough because, yeah, how we want this to be more accessible, right? We want people with mobility issues or elderly or just smaller people to be able to handle these easily. And sometimes it can be unwieldy. And so that it's a pity.
It is going to fix some things like the NACS connector is like it's so much easier just to put in. The CCS connector, it's more to slide in and it has the latch, and if you don't get it just right, it's a pain. And because the cable is so heavy and there's, you know, now like oftentimes there's a cable management like sort of pulling it away from you to try to lift it up. Anyways, it can be, it'll be more manageable just for that fact, like not necessarily the weight, just the fact that it's easier to put in. And we got traffic coming up, so I'm going to start adjusting my speed a little bit. So it won't fix everything, but you know, I think where it will help is before, if Electrify America and Supercharger were in the same area, if the Electrify America didn't work, you didn't have a backup, you know. Now we'll have a backup, and then hopefully that also puts pressure on Electrify America and other providers to get their chargers back up and running. Maybe there'll be competitive pressure, in other words, to get that working. So who knows? Liv also wants to talk about the funding, and I'm gonna be distracted by like we gotta slow down.
Yeah, we got a whole bunch of traffic coming. Sure, the funding. So currently the NEVI funding, I mean, everything's gonna change, but requires that the charging station have a payment system, have a screen with a payment system, right? Which is not something the Tesla superchargers have. So that's going to change, hopefully.
Well, they basically still won't be eligible because they don't have the payment screens unless they decide to somehow add that.
Right, and if they want access to that funding, then they will add it. So maybe they will, but maybe they won't. Maybe we'll keep touching base on this stuff and see what's rolling out. And you guys will have to let us know what you think. But when you were talking, so there are some things that won't be happening because of this, but like what are the really exciting parts of this? So access to more chargers, that is a huge thing that we need, is super exciting. But then some people might, especially Tesla owners, might be scared that this means that there are going to be more waits at chargers, that there's going to be just more traffic at superchargers. But it seems like with everyone being on board, the expansion might counteract that, right?
Well, you know, Electrify America has had an aggressive, I just realized it wants me to get off here so that I can avoid some traffic. The Tesla superchargers have been growing at a faster rate than EA. EA has had some pretty aggressive expansion plans, but I think some of the maintenance issues that they've had has slowed the expansion plans. But the superchargers are expanding so quickly. And one of the, I mean, you can just drive around and you'll see there's 20 station stalls, very common for like Tesla, whereas most EA stations are 4. Like we've seen, like at Baker, there's like over a dozen. That's great, but that's rare. And that's also due to the fact there's so many more Teslas out there. So there are, like around here in Southern California, even though there's way more superchargers and way more supercharger stalls, waits to use a supercharger are fairly common. But there's also waits to use EA stations, even though there's far fewer of them. The fact that there's so few other EVs compared to Tesla, I don't think it'll make a huge impact on the waits at Tesla superchargers with their growth rate.
And now that EVgo, Electrify America, and other charging companies are starting to jump aboard and have an NACS or NACS connector, that means that Tesla owners who were only able to charge at superchargers or at a single CHAdeMO at one of the CCS chargers.
Or they could buy the CCS adapter.
Or they could buy the CCS adapter. Now they'll have so many more options all over the place. So we're all going to have more options. And that's the great thing with standardization, is it's not us versus them. It's not just a very specific thing. Suddenly we have access to many more things. And that's one of the things that I'm also excited about, is us versus them. I think we might all be able to agree that there's a little bit of an us versus them thing with some of the Tesla community and some of the non-Tesla EVs. So I'm excited for that to start breaking down, because EVs are awesome. And ultimately, these are vehicles. These are vehicles for us to live our lives, to get to our jobs, to take our kids to school, to go grocery shopping. These are our vehicles to our lives. And it's not an us versus them. It's more like, how does this make it easier to live your life, and live your life in a way that hopefully makes the world a little better and last longer, because things aren't going well. And we really need to do this for clean energy and climate wise. So this big change, NACS, standardization, helps all of that. And that's what I'm excited about.
Yeah, we're all in it together for clean energy, clean transportation. By the way, hopefully we get this video out quickly, because later this month in July, the end of July, we are going to participate. We're going to travel up to San Luis Obispo for the largest Tesla owner gathering. It's called Tesla Takeover. And we're super excited to just sort of hang out with some fellow EV enthusiasts that just happen to own Teslas. But there's also going to be, I'm sure there's going to be Rivians and Lucids and Lightnings and oh my.
And it's a bunch of our friends and new acquaintances out here in Southern California who are Tesla owners who said, you guys should come, it's going to be great. So we're coming, and I think it's going to be great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll start to wrap up the video, because we covered so much about the charging stuff. I'm sure we missed a lot of things. If you have any questions, please let us know. We'll try to get them answered when we do another update video, or we can just answer in a comment or update the articles.
And both our articles are listed down below, and you can expect more articles on EV Explored by Patrick or me. We try to put a lot of work into our videos and to just being up to date and to being aware of things. So we're like, why not actually put that work on paper? Digital? It's great. I don't know.
And we ramble less when we have to write it down, I think.
Maybe. Probably not. I don't know. We've been rambling for a good half an hour. So that means that it's time to go.
One last detail, just for the Mach-E people. I'm letting Ford Nav get us around all of this traffic. And I don't know if it's going to pay off. It has in the past. But so far, it seems pretty interesting. And I can tell, my fellow people that are also using some type of nav to get around traffic. So, anyways,
yeah, this OXO 2A, what does that mean?
I don't know.
OXO.
But so far, it's like the Ford Nav. I'll use Android Auto or Google Maps or Apple Maps. But there are times like this where I'm like, let's see what the Ford Nav does, and it generally does a fairly decent job. And I like it because I can just turn on the dings to alert me to where to change the route, or what the turn is coming up, and it doesn't speak, and I don't miss things because I'm not paying attention. So anyways, now you can wrap up the video.
And so, by the way, we keep referencing a whole bunch of other stuff that's going on. Another thing that's actually going on, Patrick mentioned we're driving to Orange County, and we do that often. That's because I'm getting my new prosthesis made. I'm an amputee, and a prosthetist is the leg doctor who makes my leg. And after today, a very special treat, after we go to work on my prosthesis, we are also going to be picking up an electric bike from Electric Bike Company. We're so excited to collaborate with them, and it's been in the works for quite a while. It's finally been made. We toured the facility, so we're going to pick it up. We're going to start doing electric bike stuff. My leg is finally at a point that I might be able to do this, knock on wood, please don't jinx it. So that's something else you can expect in the future, as well as an Electric Bike Company video all about the process if you're curious. It looks really lovely. I can't wait. I'm so excited. On that note, thank you so much for joining us for this video in which we re-navigated all around Southern California and don't even know where we're going, as we rambled on and on about the charging situation, which is ever changing. And a huge thank you to our patrons whose names are scrolling across the screen down below. We appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for supporting this channel. As the car says,
pre-collision alert.
Assist. Where? What?
The Tesla that was turning.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't gonna hit him.
It's a little jumpy. So on that note, thank you for watching, like and subscribe. And just remember that whatever you drive, whether it has pre-collision assist or not, always keep your eyes on the road and enjoy the ride. Bye.